Hello, I'm the Doctor. Welcome to DoctorGeek. Today, we're having a Doctor Who discussion. The topic, how old is the Doctor? The age of the Doctor is a major point of contention among fans of Doctor Who, and with good reason. While the classic series did a fairly good job of keeping you up to date with the Doctor's age, the 8th Doctor and the War Doctor together add a lot of ambiguity to the equation, and when the new series started in 2005, the age they gave for the 9th Doctor simply did not match up with what we already knew about the Doctor's age. Now, 12 years later, the timeline has only gotten more confusing, to the point where Stephen Moffat himself has resorted to telling us that not even the Doctor knows how old he really is. Now, while that very well may be true, and does bring up a good point, as fans, we always want something a bit more concrete. So, going into this discussion, we will be starting from a point of acknowledging the fact that the current accepted age for the Doctor is not correct, to the point where he probably doesn't even know himself. But, using our knowledge of his story and a little bit of guesswork, we will come up with an age that makes a bit more sense. With that said, let's start at the beginning. The 10th Doctor mentioned, in The Sound of Drums, that he was 8 years old when he entered the Academy, and later said that he was just a kid when he visited the Medusa Cascade for the first time at the age of 90. So we already know that Time Lords consider themselves to be essentially children until they are around 100 years old. Now, for reasons that we will go into later, it's generally agreed upon that the Doctor was 236 years old when he first borrowed the TARDIS. So let's put 236 on our counter and we'll go from there. The first Doctor famously regenerated at the end of the 1966 story The 10th Planet, when his old body started to wear a bit thin, and triggered a regeneration due to old age. Having looked like an old man for the entirety of our time with the first Doctor, including the 50th anniversary flashback where we saw him steal the TARDIS, it's hard to exactly place this Doctor's age. However, shortly after his first regeneration, the second Doctor tells his companion Victoria that he is about 450 years old by her account, which makes sense as he carries around a 500-year diary. This means the first Doctor traveled in the TARDIS for over 200 years.
I mean, if what you say is true, you must be, well, how old?
Well, if we count in Earth terms, I suppose I must be about 400... Yes, about 450 years old. Yes, well, quite.
The second Doctor, by my accounts, has one of the shortest lives of all the Doctors, considering he is with companions Ben and Polly when he first regenerates, and is soon joined by Jamie McCrimmon, who stays with the Doctor for the remainder of his incarnation without getting noticeably older, putting the second Doctor's lifespan well within the confines of a few years at most. However, there is a fan theory that the Time Lords actually keep the Doctor alive for a good deal longer to possibly work for them. This is backed up by the second Doctor's return appearances in the 3 Doctors, 5 Doctors, and 2 Doctors, where he appears much older than he does in his regeneration episode. Nevertheless, the 3rd Doctor comes on the scene with a bit of a flair for the dramatic, and twice claims to have been around for over 1,000 years, which based on all other evidence seems to be blatantly false, and more than likely was just meant to convey that he was countless times more qualified than the people around him, as the 3rd Doctor liked to often point out. So, we're still in ambiguity for the moment.
Beginning to lose confidence for the first time in my life, and that covers several thousand years.
Let me tell you so that I am a scientist, and I have been for several thousand.
We get some clarity again in the 4th Doctor's tenure, as he many times mentions that he is roughly 750 years old.
Well, I'm only 749. Life doesn't begin until
At
700.
the next sun.
We were expecting someone much older. Well, I'm only 749. Used to be even younger. I'm a Time Lord.
Oh, I know you're a Time Lord.
You don't understand the implications. I'm not a human being. I walk in eternity.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means I've lived for something like 750 years.
Oh, you'll soon be middle-aged.
Yes! Two hearts, respiratory bypass system. I haven't lived 750 years without learning something after you.
When the Doctor meets fellow Time Lord Romana in the Ribos operation, he tells her that he is 756, but she corrects him, telling him he's actually 759. And she later tells him that he has been traveling in the TARDIS for 523 years, which is where we get that 236 starting age from.
That's ridiculous for somebody as old as you are.
I'm not old. What?
759?
756. That's not old. It's just mature.
You've lost count some way.
Well, I ought to know my own age.
Yes, but after the first few centuries, I expect things get a bit foggy, don't they?
Listen, have you any idea how long I've been operating this TARDIS?
523 years.
Right. Is it really that long? Why, how time flies.
Because of the fact that Romana is also a Time Lord, this bit of information seems extra reliable. The Doctor would later say that he was nearing the age 760.
Well, I've had a happy life. Can't complain. Only 760. Not a bad age.
The Fifth Doctor never mentions his age on screen, but in the Big Finish audio Omega, he states that he is pushing 900. And sure enough, the Sixth Doctor twice mentions that he is 900 years old in both Revelation of the Daleks and the Mysterious Planet.
Well, how do you think I feel? I'm a 900-year-old Time Lord. But I'll have you know I'm in the prime of my life. I'm only 900 years old now. Untie me at once.
Once he regenerates, the Seventh Doctor is confronted with a rival Time Lord named the Rani in his very first story, and he claims that he and the Rani are the same age, 953 years old.
Am I hallucinating?
Well, go on, quick. 953.
I would have thought she would have been so obvious. That's my age. I'm the Ranis.
Much later, when we see the Seventh Doctor in the TV movie, he has aged at least slightly, which for a Time Lord means at least a few decades. Because of this, and to stay conservative, I think we can cap the classic series off at a clean 1,000 years. Now, for fans of the new series, you may notice a problem here, as the 9th and 10th Doctors often give their age as around 900, and herein lies the problem with the age of the Doctor. Here we are with 2 more Doctors to go until the new series, and we're already 100 years older than we should be. So, here's my theory. I believe that it's one of 2 possibilities. Either the Doctor, upon reaching 1,000 years old, decided to start over at 1 to make things easier, or the time war that would occupy the majority of this middle time somehow messed with the Doctor's personal timeline. Personally, I'm more partial to option A, as it's easier to believe that the Doctor simply started lying about his age than the Time War solution, which has always been used as an easy out to explain any inconsistencies in the Doctor Who timeline. But whatever you want to believe works for me. Either way, we need to start our counter back to 0, but those 1,000 years we logged will not be forgotten. Now, if we go only by the 2 appearances on screen of the 8th Doctor, then we can at least surmise from his aging that he was around for a century or 2. But since he openly references his Big Finish companions in his regeneration scene, Charlie, Kariz, Lucy, Tamsin, and Molly, he effectively makes them canon, and that means that we can count their stories. This opens up even more problems, however, as the 8th Doctor in his Big Finish audio Orbis spends 600 years trapped on a planet. Now granted, in this same audio he admits that he rounds and adjusts his age based on different year lengths in the universe, so the Orbis years could have been much shorter. But since this story makes up less than 1% of the 8th Doctor's adventures, and for reasons I'll go into later, I think we can safely say that the 8th Doctor was around for at least 300 years before regenerating into a very young-looking War Doctor. Which brings us to the Time War. Sadly, John Hurt passed away before we could get too much definitive evidence of how long the Time War lasted, or how long the Doctor fought in it. But given the dramatic age difference that the War Doctor experiences from when he first regenerates, and given the fact that his incarnation also ends when his body wears a bit thin, it's safe to put the War Doctor's age at around 500 to 550 years old. Regardless, when the 11th Doctor tells him that he's about 1200 years old, the War Doctor comments that he's 400 years younger, putting him at 900.
How old are you now?
I don't know. I lose track. 1200 and something, I think, unless I'm lying. Remember, if I'm lying about my age, that's how old I am.
400 years older than me, and in all that time you never even wondered how many there were.
So, however you want to cut the 8th and War Doctor's time, they both added up to 900 years. Now that we've gotten to the new series, it's pretty straightforward. The 9th Doctor tells Rose that he's 900 years old.
When you say 900 years,
That's my age.
you're 900 years old.
Yeah.
My mum was right, that is one hell of an age gap.
This is reiterated many times by the 10th Doctor, most famously in his speech from Voyage of the Damned.
I'm the Doctor. I'm a Time Lord. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Kasterborous. I'm 903 years old, and I'm the man who's going to save your lives and all 6 billion people on the planet below. You got a problem with that?
And he gives his age as 906 in the End of Time, shortly before he regenerates.
I'm older than you.
Get away.
I'm 906.
Oh, really, though?
Yeah.
900 years. We must look like insects to you.
I think you look like giants.
The 11th Doctor tells Amy Pond that he is 907 years old in Flesh and Stone, and then 909 in The Impossible Astronaut.
I am 907 years old. Do you understand what that means?
It's been a while.
Yeah, no.
Squifford, what's going on? Amy, ask him what age he is.
It's a bit personal.
Tell her. Tell her what age you are.
909.
And when he returns from his 200-year-long farewell tour, also in The Impossible Astronaut, he told her that he was 1,103.
Since when do you drink wine?
I'm 1103. I must have drunk it sometime.
Towards the end of the Pond's tenure in the TARDIS, the Doctor gave his age as 1,200 in a town called Mercy, bringing us to the age that he gave the War Doctor.
No crazy schemes, no negotiations.
I've matured. I'm 1200 years old now.
And that brings us to Trenzalore, where the Doctor spent 300 years between Clara's first and second visit, bringing him up to 1,500.
What is it?
Well, where have you been for 300 years?
He then spends an additional number of centuries on Trenzalore that's never explicitly stated on screen.
Were you always so young?
Nah, that was you.
However, the 12th Doctor states after regenerating that he has lived over 2,000 years, meaning the 11th Doctor spent at least 800 years on Trenzalore, and it is said to be a combined 900 years in the book Tales of Trenzalore, the 11th Doctor's Last Stand.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
This means that the 11th Doctor lived longer than his first 7 incarnations combined, easily making him the longest aged Doctor. How exactly the 11th Doctor managed this feat is up for debate, considering that 2 of his previous incarnations died of old age before hitting 500. But perhaps being so close to the crack in time lengthened his life as the Time Lords relied on him to protect them. This brings the Doctor up to 2,100 years old, and with our additional 1,000 years from Classic Who, we have a 12th Doctor that's 3,100 years old. The 12th Doctor spends 24 years with River Song on the planet Beryllium, before making an oath to guard the body of Missy for 1,000 years, of which he serves between 50 and 70.
I'll tell you what I don't understand. You've been lecturing here for a long time. Like 50 years, some people say. Nabila in the office says over 70.
The 12th Doctor would of course be trapped in his confession dial for 4.5 billion years, and would later say that he retained those memories. But since his body was repeatedly copied, we won't count that here. All totaled, and again, being conservative, I think we can safely say that the Doctor will be at least 3,200 years old when he regenerates into his 13th incarnation this Christmas. So, what do you think about the Doctor's age? Do you think he's lying? Or maybe he just doesn't remember? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for new Doctor Who videos every week. As always, thank you for being my companion on this journey today. I'm the Doctor. Bye for now.